Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Post-Match Live with We Ain't Got No History. My name is David, and suppose we have to talk about this for at least a little bit. I don't really have too much desire to talk about it because it was kind of bad. And by kind of bad, I mean very bad. Embarrassing is a good word to use. It's being thrown around a lot. Chelsea lose to Crystal Palace 2-1 today as we resume Premier League football after a 2-week international break. Chelsea unfortunately played as if we were still on international break, which is a really bad way to actually play when you're not on international break. This video is going about as well as Chelsea's day today so far. Hopefully there is sound, etc., etc., because that wasn't working earlier for me. And now my phone's ringing. Nobody ever even calls this line. What is happening? Anyway, Chelsea lose 2-1. We should remember that Crystal Palace had not only no wins but no goals coming into this game. They walk away with 2 goals and all 3 points. Pretty much Chelsea started badly and improved a little bit afterwards, but first 10 minutes it was basically all Palace. They came out with all sorts of attacking intent, plenty of vim and vigor. You wouldn't think they're the team supposedly low on confidence with not being able to win a game or score a goal. Instead, it's unclear what Chelsea were playing at, whether they underestimated the opposition, whether they're just too tired from the international, whatever exertions and travel. They were saying, I think it was 7 of Chelsea's starting 11 played in a national game this week, while none of Palace's players had played a game. It didn't really help that we started with players who were some of the last ones to return from international break. In front, the front 3, Hazard, Batshuayi, and Willian all came back, I think, only on Thursday. So that was a bit of an interesting decision, but it's like Kimo says there, no excuses. Chelsea were just bad. That about sums it all up right there. It was easily one of the worst games we've seen Chelsea play in a while, especially the first half. We improved a little bit in the second half. There was only one way to go after that first half, and that was up. But it was just not enough. I mean, Fabregas hit the crossbar in the second half. We came close a couple of times. Almost got gifted a goal at the end by Sacco, which would have been pretty funny. But Fabregas' shot went just wide. There were a couple others. I think there was a shot from somebody, a header from Batshuayi that went wide, or one just high at one point. Musonda had a couple decent efforts from long range. Zappacosta had one. It's just it's not clear. We ran out of ideas. And probably were pretty lucky at the end just to only concede the 2 goals to previously goalless Crystal Palace. Kyle says, going to be hard to catch any of the Manchester clubs. So I think at this point we should be firmly readjusting our sights and expectations from the top of the table to top 4. As it stands right now, Chelsea remain 4th place with 13 points, but Arsenal are starting to play in about a minute against Watford, and the winner of that game will jump into 4th place. And if it's a draw, then Arsenal go into 4th and Chelsea drop to 5th, which is not a good place to be. United dropped points early in the day against Liverpool. Mourinho setting out for the classic Anfield performance, playing for the 0-0 and getting his 0-0. But City ran riot again. They scored only the 7 goals today for Manchester City. So yeah, they look a little unstoppable. It's a result that makes our 1-0 loss look tremendous, considering they're scoring like almost 30 goals now through 8 games, which is fairly amazing. There are some people saying it reminds of Chelsea's 2009-2010 season, Ancelotti's first season, and in a way that does. But unless they suffer a major collapse, which could always happen, City look pretty good value for a Premier League title favorite at this point. United will push them to the end. Spurs finally won a game at Wembley, so they sit pretty solid in third place at the moment. So yeah, our fight right now is for fourth place, which is the basic minimum requirement for a season, I think, at Chelsea these days. So yeah, I'm gonna have our work cut out for us, certainly in the next couple weeks. It's not going to help that Victor Moses appeared to have picked up a hamstring injury, which is now the third in just as many weeks for the club. We tremendously missed N'Golo Conte today. There seemed to be no fight, no energy in the midfield. I'm not sure we won a single 50-50 challenge. I take it back. Fabregas won a couple, but beyond that, it was a pretty sad effort. So definitely missed Conte there. We missed Morata up front. That goes without saying. Batshuayi got his chance and was withdrawn before the hour mark, much to his frustration. But I don't know, if he looks at it objectively, I'm not so sure he can have any complaints whatsoever. Perhaps the only complaint he could have is he was withdrawn before Willian was taken off, but it really was just a race to the bottom between those two. And not like Hazard was that much better, but at least he had the promise of potentially producing something better. After Batshuayi was taking off, we went to the usual the small lineup with Hazard, Pedro, and Willian. And for some reason, when we play that lineup these days, we insist on putting Hazard as the center forward, which is not a good position for him. It really limits his effectiveness and puts the burden on Pedro and Willian or Musonda later to create, and that's not really as ideal. I'm not so sure why we don't play, whenever we play the three smalls, I'm not sure why we don't play Pedro as the striker or the nominal striker, false nine, whatever you want to call him, and play Hazard as the left wing in his usual position. But that's not how Conte likes to do it, I guess. Yeah, so let's run quickly through the lineup. Chelsea were back to the three. Is there a recall clause for Tammy? We can usually recall most loanies in January if we want, but I think recalling Tammy Abraham would be a mistake for his career. It is just one game. It's easy to overreact as ever to bad losses, and certainly Chelsea have plenty of room to improve from today's performance. We're going to have to find that pretty quickly, I think, because coming up on Wednesday is Roma in the Champions League, and that's another must-win. If we do win that, we are looking actually pretty good in the Champions League groups. So, it's as much as this performance was terrible and everything sucks today, we're going to have to get over this pretty quickly. Willian has been underperforming for 3-4 games. That might be an understatement, as I think he's been underperforming for basically the whole season. And I am just as baffled as everybody else as to why we continue playing Willian over Pedro. Not that Pedro was amazing today by any stretch of the imagination, but Pedro just needs to maybe get a chance. Maybe he'll get his chance against Roma. Who knows? Anyway, so Chelsea were back to the 3-4-3, the usual back three of Cahill, David Luiz, and Azpilicueta. It was probably one of their worst outings as a unit. They had no idea how to deal with the pace of Zaha, of Townsend, even. Who else was up there? Sacco, the other Sacco, not the defender Sacco, but... Oh no, Sacco wasn't up there. Townsend, Zaha, and Schlupp was the third guy. Yeah, so especially Zaha. The one guy we had to be careful about is the one guy we weren't careful about, or we were too careful, I guess. Maybe give him too much respect. Who knows? But nobody seemed to want to tackle him at all. You know, obviously don't tackle him when he's in the box, but don't let him run at you. Azpilicueta on the second goal. So who knows? It was a pretty bad outing from all three of them. This is a hilarious Cahill stumbling all over the place in the first half. David Luiz, you know, giving the ball away, making some strange decisions. Azpilicueta, not so sure what's happening with him, but he is quietly having a not so good season so far. You know, we all love Azpilicueta. At least I love Azpilicueta. But he needs to, I don't know, he needs to get it together. Today was not good for him either. Courtois in goal didn't have too much to do other than pick the ball out of the back of his net. There was one shot where he gave up a poor rebound in the second half. Not that it really mattered too much. Omar says, don't blame defense too much. Zaha and company shouldn't be allowed to run at them. And that is correct. The burden certainly for that lies on the midfielders and the wingbacks. And Palace certainly were equal opportunity destroyers. That's not the word I'm looking for, but I can't think of another one. But they attacked on both down the left flank and the right flank and through the middle, and we basically had no real answer to it throughout the game. Fabregas and Bakayoko were the midfield two. Safe to say that they were not the most defensively solid. Fabregas, you know, he tries, bless his heart, and he put in one really nice tackle. But you know, there's a limit to Fabregas's defensive contributions, and that's a fairly low limit. Bakayoko, I was a little disappointed in his overall performance. I felt like he gave the ball away a lot. I don't think any of his headers ever found a target other than one for the goal, of course. But the headers that he was making in midfield seemed to always land at a Palace player's feet or head or chest. So it was possibly not a really good day for him. I mean, it's great that he scored the goal, obviously, but his midfield influence was lacking. Moses and Alonso as our usual wingbacks. Moses having to go off on 35 minutes was seemed like was a big change, both in a positive sense, where Zappacosta was a much more attacking force. You know, he spent the entire second half basically putting cross after cross after cross into the box to mixed results. He needs to I don't know. He needs to try to find pick out players a little better than he was. But at least he was getting his crosses in, and you know, more than what Moses was doing in the first 35 minutes. That said, I felt like our right side was a little less strong defensively, and that possibly contributed to Palace's second goal. But like I said, you know, it's not like Palace were only attacking down that one side. They were, you know, they were pretty much running at the defense at will, and that's unfortunate. Those, you know, need to cut off the supply to those guys, especially Zaha, since we knew as soon as we saw him on the starting lineup in the lineup sheet, you know, he was the only, the biggest threat. You know, Townsend, you know, every once in a while he'll pull off some amazing shot or whatever, but is not really a player you need to worry about with every play. Zaha, on the other hand, clearly is a very talented player, and on his day, one of the best dribblers and one of the most dangerous players in the league. And we let him play today, and that is unfortunate. And front three that we already talked about a little bit: Willian, Batshuayi, and Hazard. And much like the rest of the team, they were fairly bad. What's happened to Drinkwater is a question. Drinkwater apparently is still injured. He was expected to be back today or this, after the international break that just ended. But as Conte revealed in his pre-match press conference, unfortunately Drinkwater is still not ready to play. It's unclear when he will be. Conte didn't put an estimate on it. Not so sure he would have helped today. We needed, today we saw the importance of somebody like N'Golo Kante. And yeah, we might, the 3-5-2, if Morata comes back, he should be back by Wednesday. It seems to be the narrative or the trend. More and more stories about Morata coming back on Wednesday, which would be a surprise based on the initial diagnosis of his hamstring injury. But at this point, I'll take any news, any good news, with both hands, both arms, and be happy about it. Obviously. So if Morata does come back, that reopens the possibility of playing a 3-5-2 with a three-man midfield and pushing somebody like David Luiz in the midfield to play sort of an anchorman role, which could have been useful today. For example, to stop a lot of the supply to the front players and play through the middle. Play Christensen as the anchor of the back three, push David Luiz into midfield, and that kind of, as much as we can, make up for the absence of Conte in the midfield. Allow Fabregas to do his thing, allow Bakayoko to do his thing without having to worry about defending, which they may not be worried about at all, but somebody needs to worry about. So, that's where David Luiz possibly comes in. And Christensen has done well in defense, so there's that. Find some time to play. Find some time to play Rudiger. It doesn't really matter at this point to me if we play against Cahill or Azpilicueta. Neither of them are really making themselves indispensable at this moment. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement for the David Luiz in defensive midfield play. I think that's the smartest thing right now that Conte could do. And then hopefully that also opens up a little chance for somebody like Drinkwater to come in for either Fabregas or Bakayoko whenever Drinkwater is ready to play. Not so sure I'm ready to blame Conte for the This all comes down to Conte doing nothing for us in the TW transfer window. Well, I mean, Conte is not really in charge of transfers, and the one player he was pushing for in Morata has certainly done well enough. If you saw Lukaku play today, there's really not much that we missed out on based on that one performance. Everybody will have bad days, good days, whatever. It's tough to, I don't know. I think Conte was, the players he was pushing for and the players that he got that what he was pushing for have done just quite well. Is Zaha better than Hazard? Well, I mean, it's, with these tricky players, if it's your day, it's your day. It certainly was not Hazard's day today. And, Zaha he's been injured for a while, so he's certainly been saving up for today. And he made it. He made it count. It's one of those. Palace come into today's game supposedly, probably low on confidence, and if Chelsea score the first goal, chances are we walk away with the win. but for some reason we just were not able to get into the game. We gifted them the first goal through just absolute defensive disorganization, panicky clearances, whatever. I mean, their first goal was they destroying Cahill and Alonso on the left side. The cross comes in, and we have plenty of players to deal with it there. And the only player Palace had in the box was Cabaye. David Luiz goes to clear the ball. It bounces off of Cabaye's knee. It bounces into Azpilicueta, wrong foot's Courtois, and it just trickles into the net. And it's just one of those, that's the luck that Palace hadn't had all season. And there it was, and that suddenly, in the end, that was all the luck they needed. And of course, it's one of those when the goal goes in, everybody suddenly remembers that we can call this a trap game. It's worst team, one of the top teams in the league against the worst team in the league by any measure, really. Coming off of an international break, looking forward to a Champions League match. Easy to look past this, injuries, whatever. And the margins at Premier League level are pretty small, and sometimes that's all you need. That said, when Bakayoko equalized, it looked like Chelsea would go on to win. And then Palace get their second goal just before halftime, which, as the cliche goes, the perfect time to score, and it really was. It changed the feeling of the game. If we go into halftime at 1-1, I think we go on to win it. Even at 2-1, I wasn't too concerned, and it looked like Chelsea were ready to push on in the second half. Started well enough, first 10 minutes, good pressure. Fabregas hits the crossbar from a long-range shot. But really, Chelsea never quite managed to work a super clear opening, and then Palace just dropped deep and defended, and that was it. Are we all ruining not having Lukaku today just because Morata's out? Yeah, I think that's fair to say. It's hopefully Morata comes back on Wednesday and makes us just remember just how good he's been and how much we missed him today. This was a big chance for Michy Batshuayi to once again prove that he truly has come a long way since last summer. And unfortunately, it was another competitive game where he did not prove that at all. He finished last season on a good note. He's obviously scored the league-winning goal, and then had a good preseason, some good performances in those warm-up games, whatever. But as soon as the season started, back to old ineffective Batshuayi, and he barely touched the ball today. Had one chance, I want to say, in the first half where he kind of tried to work a shot for himself, but then was blocked. So yeah, and it's just the play you're missing that Batshuayi is not doing at all. That even when we played Hazard up front, at least he played a couple times where he just comes short a little bit. You hold up the ball and you bring the rest of the team into play. Batshuayi did not seem to do that at all. I'm not sure if he was just unable to work anything against Saka or Dan, or if we were not passing to him, but not showing the ball, not showing for the ball. So yeah, it was not good. Kelvin says our attack was much better with Pedro and Musonda. Yeah, unfortunately. It was because much like the first half, the only way it was up after the performances of Batshuayi and Willian. Yeah, not a day to remember, not a day for the scrapbooks. Man City are looking at different classes. John, yeah, Manchester City are certainly making a good case to run away with the league. Of course, you're not going to win the league in the first 8 games of the season, but you can't possibly lose the league in the first 8 games of the season, and Chelsea are getting right to that threshold where our chance of getting back into the title race at this point kind of depends on going another 13-game winning streak like last season. Joel says we were on the same points as last season. We were on the same points as last season. So coming into this game after 7 games, we were exactly where we were last season. Believe it or not, but it didn't really feel that bad. Now it certainly does, and now we need that the magic touch. 12 months ago, after we lost back-to-back games, which we now have done this season, Conte famously said that he doesn't have a magic wand to fix our problems, whatever. And then it turned out that the 3-4-3 was a magic wand, but we can't possibly expect another 13-game winning streak, and we've been saying that since the beginning of the season. But at this point, surely it's our best hope. But, 1 game at a time. Start with a 1-game winning streak, then a 2 and a 3. And go on from there. Watford is more essential than Roma. Yeah, in a way it is. But we can't just throw the Roma game because we need a win next weekend. Fortunately, the reality is, we need the home win over Roma to solidify our position at the top of the Champions League and basically allow us to possibly have 2 games at the end of the groups where we don't really need to worry about it. You win your 3 or 4 games in the Champions League groups, and then the last 2 are just opportunities for rotation and playing other players, fringe players. And winning against Roma at home is one of those games that we have to have. Unfortunately, the win against Watford is another game we have to have. So, it is... it's life at the top of the game. You got to win all your games. So, hopefully Morata coming back, I think, will be a big help. And the question is, why do we rely on Morata so much? We spent a club record amount on him, so we should be relying on him a lot, and we should be building the team to play for him, which we seemingly have done so, both in a 3-4-3 and a 3-5-2. Problem is, we don't really have somebody comparable to replace him when he does need to take a break or gets injured, as he is now. Batshuayi doesn't seem to work the same way, and then that's it. We don't have any other striker. So that's, sure, Llorente would have been nice in that sense because he is a much more similar player to Morata in the way, strength-wise, the way he plays. And he knows Conte's system, but so should Batshuayi. So who knows why Michi just doesn't quite work for him. James says we're the early kickoff on Saturday after playing on Wednesday. What a joke. Yeah, that's Premier League scheduling for you. They try to make it as hard as possible for the teams in Europe, and then complain about when the teams in Europe don't play as well as they can. Keep the faith. They used to watch Chelsea in the 80s. You don't have to go back to the 80s to remember worse times than these. And certainly it's every once in a while we do need to remember to check our privilege, so to speak. And for example, had we won today, we would have been the 7th consecutive away win in a competitive game for Chelsea, which would have matched the club record from 1989, which was set in the 2nd division. Imagine Chelsea playing in the 2nd division these days. That's like a alternate reality. There's a book there for you in an Amazon Prime show. Our problem is still bench depth, says Kelvin. We don't even have a close to decent sub. Yeah, and I think that remains the problem with starting Fabregas. As much as Cesc has the ability to be a game winner, every time we start him, our bench suddenly looks devoid of attacking possibilities. You know, we're like today, for example. Once we brought on Pedro was the obvious choice, and brought on Musonda. There's nobody left on the bench. You know, who are you going to bring on for midfield help? Like Kyle Scott, whoever he was. Yeah, Kyle Scott, Rudiger, and Christensen were the three unused players, plus Caballero on the bench. Yeah, so especially with the injuries now, it's looking once again a little thin on the bench. Wouldn't mind seeing Willian go in January. Yeah, there's a lot of things. A lot of anger or whatever about Willian these days. He just needs to stop starting. You know, he doesn't need to be sold. He just just needs to be dropped for a couple games and give Pedro a chance. Give even Musonda a chance. It doesn't really matter at this point. Let's get somebody a chance. Get some fresh ideas, fresh feet in there. Do you think Ampadu has a chance at breaking onto the bench? Yeah, I guess Ampadu traveled with the team today as much as you ever traveled to Crystal Palace from Chelsea. But I guess we did. We went there yesterday and we stayed at a hotel, which probably is standard procedure. But yeah, it's I think we'll see Ampadu again in the League Cup for sure, and maybe earlier than that. I don't know. I don't think he has, as far as playing time, there's several players ahead of him who should be getting playing time ahead of him. But yeah, on the bench, I can certainly see Ampadu making a couple benches. Willian always dribbled towards our goal. The problem with Willian that I noticed today, the main aspect of his performance that frustrated me was the incessant desire or need to take a touch before doing anything. He always takes at least one, if not two touches, and then he shifts the ball to his right foot, and then he tries to do something, either a quick move down the line or cut back inside or whatever. But it's just that every time there's a touch, just make the pass, first time pass. You can do it. You have the skill. Not sure he insists on slowing the game down every time. Certainly today. So I don't know if that's just a habit for him these days or what, but that one aspect of his performance certainly frustrated me. Need new wingers. Can't depend on Charlie Musonda, says Joao Enrique. Well, yeah, but we have wingers. They're just not performing, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, hindsight, Costa today could have changed the game. He could have, and certainly there were plenty of instances of Costa winning games like these, pulling a goal and a win out of a poor performance. And we had been wondering who's going to step up in his absence to do that. We were wondering if Morata could do it, but Morata didn't even play today, so can't really come to any sort of conclusion on that. What we can come to a conclusion on is nobody who played today really stepped up to be that game changer and win the game by himself. Yeah, one step back, two steps forward. Fixtures are good. We have winnable games. We can start a streak. There you go. That's I like that. It's a good silver lining. Certainly, we looked at this batch of 7 games in 21 days before the next international break, which is the first weekend of November, in 3 weeks. And Chelsea should be winning these games. Obviously, we should have won today, so that's how much should counts for in football. But yeah, Next in the league will be Watford. Then Bournemouth away. Let's see if we can load up the schedule here. Yeah, so Watford at home, Bournemouth away, United at home, West Brom away, Liverpool away on Thanksgiving, and then home games against Swansea and Newcastle as we head into December. So yeah, I mean, it's if we're looking for a place to put together a winning streak, today is good a time as any, or this coming up. It's 3 home games in a row right now for Chelsea against Roma, Watford, and Everton. That's in 3 different competitions, and we certainly should be expecting 3 wins from there, and then build on that into the end of the month. You know, win away at Bournemouth, do whatever against Roma away, and then Manchester United come to Stamford Bridge on November 5th. And if Chelsea win that, suddenly we end the month or this period on a much better note than we started with. But that's possibly looking just a little too far forward. Right now, we just need to be concentrating on Roma and go on from there. Conte practically took Hazard out of the game in the last 20 minutes, but should we be expecting more from him anyway? Yes, on both accounts. I think Hazard now has played the center forward position twice in quick success, and two recent games, and he's not been good in either times on either occasion, and it really limited his ability to impact the game for whatever reason, whether that's him or the role he tries to play is too restrictive for him. I certainly would not be putting Hazard as our nominal forward anytime soon. If we insist on playing 3 small attackers again, put Pedro as your center forward. I think he's the one whose skills translate most naturally to that position. Maybe he won't play the hold-up role as much, but we can at least send him on a couple of good runs and go from there. Bakayoko seems to have played a bit more advanced at times today, and got caught out. Do you think it was because Morata or Conte cost us? Of no Morata or Conte? Yeah, I think certainly it was because of Conte, and we talked a little earlier about the solution, I guess, to all this, and really the move that needs to happen, maybe against all teams at this point, is to play a 3-man midfield, because without Conte, Fabregas and Bakayoko are just not really able to cover for each other the way Conte can cover for everybody else. And we need to move somebody like David Luiz into midfield and play him as a third midfielder to provide the cover for both Fabregas and Bakayoko, or Drinkwater when he comes back. And put Christensen into the center of the defense. Ancelotti's out of work these days, says Arif. Yeah, Ancelotti, I wouldn't count on him ever coming back to Chelsea again. But he says he's taking a break anyway till the end of the season. So, yeah. Could have used Drinkwater today. Need to get him fit. Yeah, I do wonder what's happening with Drinkwater, because nobody's really talking about him. Conte said he's not ready to play, but didn't elaborate beyond that. So I don't understand what's happening with him. Play Kennedy at left wing back against Roma. Sounds crazy. It will definitely surprise Roma. It will surprise a lot of people, I think, if Kennedy gets the start over Alonso. Yeah, I mean, Alonso was okay today. I thought he was nowhere near our worst player. He was nowhere near our best player, but I'm not even sure I can pick a best player out of the players who played. But I don't know. Give him a rest. He just came back from rest. He had 2 weeks off to do nothing. He should be fit and ready to go. 3-4-3 has lost its surprise factor, if nothing else. How much of this is on Conte? Yeah, maybe it is time to truly tinker with the 3-4-3. You know, last time we lost 2 in a row was when the 3-4-3 was invented, but certainly by now, I think most people have figured out how to play against it. I don't think today's loss had really had anything to do with Palace being like tactically, you know, advanced and Hodgson telling him how to beat the 3-4-3. I think today's loss was basically down to effort and determination. You know, all those intangibles that Conte likes to talk about that Chelsea didn't really show today. And I haven't looked at Conte's post-match comments. You know, he usually likes to talk about how he's happy with his players, putting in committed effort, etc., etc. But I think if Conte's being realistic with himself today, I think he'll know that the effort from Chelsea today was nowhere near the effort that we needed or that we can produce. Certainly, I mean, that's from the highs of that Atletico Madrid performance. It's, you know, it's tough to forget. It was only 3 games ago. It's 3 games ago that Chelsea produced one of the greatest displays we've seen, certainly in Europe, possibly certainly in recent seasons. And since then, we lost to City at home, and now we lost to Palace away. So it's just one of those. How do you even explain this? You know, go from the high of the Atletico to the low of Palace in the span of 3 games. A span of, what, like 180 minutes? Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Were we that good against Atletico, or are they on the wane as a defensive power? No, I think we were that good against Atletico. I think there's no... we don't need to take credit away from us just because we've been terrible since you know. I mean, certainly it helped that Atletico set out to defend, but it should have been a lot. The scoreline should have been a lot more lopsided than 2-1. Yeah. We were okay against City until Morata went off. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah, I'll give you that. We were okay. We were not terrible until Morata went off, but then we were terrible. Uh-oh, we have non-English comment. I don't think my Portuguese or Spanish, whatever this is, Portuguese. It's not that good. But I think we're saying it's Emanalo's fault. Emanalo out. Yeah. It is what it is. I don't think we necessarily lost the transfer window. Like, I'm not really sure we can blame yeah. I got the Emanalo part. That was pretty easy. And culpa means fault, right? So yeah, I mean, it's you see a win like this, and it's one of those games that maybe we play it 10 times and we win 9 times and we lose today. But maybe this level of effort was always going to happen, and it would have happened even if we signed, you know, Lukaku and Morata and Belotti and Messi and Neymar and whoever else. You know, maybe it's just a confluence of events, of, I don't know, of mental hang-ups, whatever, just random reversion to the mean. I mean, Palace were going to win a game at some point. Their underlying statistics were not as bad as their record was showing in the league. You know, it's certainly not a good look to lose to a previously winless and goalless team. But they were going to win at some point. And, you know, when it happens against your team, of course you say, oh, of course it's been coming. This is when the football gods smile upon you or laugh at you, point and laugh. Or when you, you know, rage quit on Football Manager and restart the game because this is stupid. Can't always be on the winning side, says Rexford. We are surely going to bounce back. Well, it's another one of those tests, right? It's kind of like the loss against Burnley, which was just a pretty similar event, or even the loss against Palace last season at Stamford Bridge. This is when you're test the character. This is how you respond to adversity, how you respond to loss. Chelsea, after that opening day nonsense against Burnley, we went on to win 7 of 8. And the only points dropped during that sequence was the 0-0 draw at Arsenal, or against Arsenal. And now we lost 2 in a row. So, is it time for another 8-game unbeaten streak? I wouldn't bet against it. It's the one thing when you obviously anytime something like this happens, you look back on 2 seasons ago with the Mourinho season, as Conte put it. And there's always a danger of that relapse happening, but we've shown the character already this season. We lost that Burnley game, and it's easy to forget the game after that was Spurs away at Wembley, which Wembley kind of away, kind of not away, but still since then Spurs have they even lost the game, right? I don't think Chelsea were expected to win that game at all. Cahill was suspended, Fabregas was suspended, and Chelsea pulled off the 2-1 win. So there's the fight in the team is probably not. We shouldn't question it long term. We should question it in the scope of this one game because it was basically non-existent, and we lost the game as much due to actual football ability or footballing plays as commitment and intensity and all that. It's a bit shocking that the team with no wins on the season was more committed to winning than the team who needed to win to keep pace in the title race. But that's football for you, I guess. Is Baba Rahman still alive? I have it on good authority that he is. And he may be training on his own or in some sort of light training. He's not training with the first team, that's for sure. But no, he's not loaned out. He's with the team, but he's still recovering from his ACL injury that he picked up in January. And those take a long time to recover from, even once you're kind of back running and light training. So Baba Rahman might be able to contribute after January, but I would expect him to be loaned out for the second half of the season to a place where he can play consistently and get back to some sort of fitness. So maybe next season he can come in and be the backup or challenge Alonso. Yeah. There was a point where Baba Rahman was a promising young defender, wing back out of the Bundesliga. So maybe we will one day actually see that at Chelsea as well. Bakayoko and Michi are both slow of thought. Well, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I really saw where they might have been slow. Or just, I think Michi was just completely uninvolved, and Bakayoko was fine for the most part, except for the headers mentioned earlier, which didn't seem to ever find the Chelsea target, other than on his goal, obviously. Now the blame is heaping up for Conte. That's right. Get ready for more Conte out exit rumors. He's surely leaving at the end of the season, if not fired beforehand. Fortunately, we only signed him for 2 years, so hey, at least we don't have a big payout, right? Michy was slow on 2 balls into the box. Okay, I'll give you that. And what I didn't like about Michy was the one time Azpilicueta got into his favorite crossing position. It's a play we've seen many, many times, and the post to attack is the far post, and Michy goes and attacks the near post. No, you're supposed to attack the far post. That's where the cross is going. So that's annoying. Hands off Bakayoko. He's powerful the way he runs. Clearly looks an intelligent player. I don't know how you really judge intelligence or non-intelligence on the pitch. But Bakayoko provides something that none of our other defenders or midfielders can do, and that is the SEN-esque, power run through the middle and, get us into the attacking third. The problem with that, without Conte on the pitch, is that Fabregas is not going to cover for him when he storms ahead like that, and that's where the David Luiz option and the midfield three should come into play. So yeah, so until Conte comes back, which might be a while, I think, was it 3 weeks now seems to be the accepted recovery period for Conte, which will put him out basically until mid-November, which I realize is more than 3 weeks away, but after 3 weeks we have another international break. So if Conte is lucky, or if we're lucky, I guess he might be back for the Manchester United game, which is at the start of November, and it's the last of this 7-game run before the next international break. But if there's any delay in his recovery or any setback, then we won't see him until mid-November and the trip away to West Brom on the 18th. So that's not necessarily a good thing. There are 3 Premier League games in October, or 2 plus the United one in the start of November, 2 Champions League games, and 1 League Cup game. So Conte is a huge miss. Willian is just garbage. He's not been good, has he? I think we were saying earlier, it's not been actually. I'm struggling to recall really a good performance from Willian all season. I want to say he's just not. He's not up to his previous abilities that we know he can have. How come we keep losing? Is the question from Alexander. Well, it's only, keep losing. It's only our 2nd loss in 2 games. I don't know. I think we lost to 2 games in fairly different circumstances. The loss against City, I think, had as much to do with tactics and setup and Conte's decisions as with City just being a much better team these days, at least right now, on form, whatever. Today's, I don't think necessarily came down to anything tactical. Sure, Zaha kind of ran the show for Palace up front, but I'm not sure how else you kind of had to trust the Fabregas Bakayoko combination at least for 1 game, see what they can do. And it was just there was just not enough commitment, not enough intensity. We pulled out of seemingly every 50-50 challenge, except for maybe a couple from Fabregas. It's kind of what happens when you lose to when a shock loss like this happens. It's almost never a tactical thing. It's always just an effort, commitment, a little bit of luck. That sort of thing. It's one of those football things that you just kind of, you don't want to overreact to losses. Last season when the Liverpool and Arsenal games happened and we lost both of them, we were clearly outclassed in both of those games. It was pretty obvious that Conte needed to make some massive changes, and he ended up doing so, and we ended up reaping the rewards. I'm not so sure either of these two games right now. Still, I don't think they indicate any like major things that need to happen. I'm not even really sure what we could do, but it's just one of those where whatever reason, we decided to throw this game away, and that's in a way makes it a lot more frustrating than just being outplayed or outclassed or whatever. It's not about any loss, it's about losing against Crystal Palace. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, it's about as annoying as last season's loss to Crystal Palace. What's wrong with Eden Hazard? I don't know. He's just bad like the rest of the team today. I don't know. Don't play him at center forward. I think that's one thing that Conte needs to learn. Yeah, it's, you say what's wrong with Hazard. I don't think we could say that about just about any player today. What was wrong with him? What was wrong with him? What was wrong with Batshuayi? What's wrong with Willian? Etc. What's wrong with Alonso? What's wrong with Cahill? What's wrong with Azpilicueta? And again, we can leave Courtois out of it, I guess. He didn't really have much to do. And it's not like he can't really fault him for either of the goals, so. Weingel says, I told everybody in work we would get beat. It was reverse psychology, and it blew up. That's the problem with reverse psychology. Sometimes the reverse reverses on you, and then you end up losing to Crystal Palace. Alright. I think that's enough wallowing in self-pity over here. Even though it's just the start of the weekend for most of the rest of the world. So we got all this to look forward to here. The weekend to look forward to, and try to process and deal with this and move on from here. I guess Arsenal are winning, so they're probably they are up 1-0 against Watford at halftime. So they're in the fourth at the moment. Chelsea down to fifth. Positions don't really matter at this early stage, obviously, but it's time to stop losing. Chelsea did go on a 13-match winning streak. Last time we lost 2 in a row, so that's what I'm hanging my hat on. And maybe we'll do that again. And I don't really care if it's all competitions or Premier League only. But obviously the losing needs to stop right here, right now. 2 in a row is more than enough, I think. So next up for Chelsea, Hazard and Alonso going to play 3 games in 1 week. Yep. I think they're going to have to. It's a good thing they didn't really try today, right? They should be plenty rested for the next 2 games. And then they can take a rest against Everton in the League Cup. Yeah, we're going to need... there's 2 home games here, Wednesday, Saturday. Now is the time to dig deep for all the first team players. So next up is Roma on Wednesday night. It's in the Champions League. Is a 7:45 kickoff. If Chelsea win that game, we are basically guaranteed a spot in the next round. So we should try to win that game. It's not one just to throw away. Morata should be back, is the latest report, but I'll believe that when I see it. That would certainly be helpful. We might need to tweak the 3-4-3 a little bit against Roma. Maybe go with the 3-5-2. We'll see. So that's on Wednesday, and then Saturday is Watford and the early kickoff, which is another must-win. So this week, 2 more must-wins, or this next 7 days, 2 must-wins for a depleted squad. Conte will be out. Morata might be back. Moses probably out with the hamstring injury he picked up today. But this is where, this is why they get paid all this money, right? Right. So, we'll probably talk to you after the Roma game on Wednesday. Hopefully, we'll be feeling a little happier than we are today. If you made it this far or watched any part of it, hopefully you enjoyed at least some of it. Hopefully we're a little better than Chelsea were today. If we weren't, well, thanks for watching anyway. Let's not have too many more of these days again. I don't like to talk too much after losses. I tend to process losses just by getting all sad and drinky. Because some people get angry, some people, go in a rage fit, whatever. I just get all sad and depressed and sulk around for the next, 24 to 48 hours. So, I'm off to go do that, I guess. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.